Hello, folks. Welcome to boy Kiko1. I'm on camera. Isn't this exciting? So I'm here to actually remake one of my older videos. About a year ago, I made a video called How to Set Up a Hardware Synth in FL Studio 20. It's got about 10,000 views. I think people liked it for the most part. I didn't like how I did it. I also think a couple people were confused, and I don't want to spread false information. So I am trying to make this simpler and make sure everything is correct, because that's important. So what are we trying to do here? So we're trying to connect a hardware synthesizer into FL Studio, right? A DAW. Now, a lot of the things I'm telling you are really just going to be specific to FL, but the same concepts apply. But honestly, there's probably other tutorials for you out there if you're using Ableton, Pro Tools, etc. First of all, what kind of synth? What does that mean? Well, it could be a vintage synthesizer from 1985. It could be a synth from yesterday. Doesn't really matter. It just needs a MIDI connection and an audio connection. So in our case, we're going to be using this Nord Lead 2X. It's to my left. You can't see it. It is there. Isn't that beautiful? Let's start with audio, because audio is really easy. So in order to get audio into FL, you have to plug either a TRS cable or a guitar cable from your synth's outputs into your audio interface or mixer inputs. These are physical things you need to have, okay? So once you've done that, it's really as simple as this. You go open up your mixer, you choose any of these inserts. Could be 1, 20, doesn't matter. This one I'm doing number 10. I called it Nord. And on the top here, it's going to say inputs, right? And you just select which one you want. In my case, it's 3 and 4. Right? But it'll look like this. It'll say none the first time. Here, let's do it here. It'll say, nothing. 3 and 4. Done. We are done with audio. Finished. Okay. Now, MIDI is a little more complicated just because it's a little more confusing, but I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. Okay. Why do we want to connect a synth to FL and connect MIDI specifically? Why? For reasons like this. Because this can now be used as a plugin via MIDI. Okay. So basically, we are sending MIDI note data from the Nord into FL, and we can put it in the Pianoroll. Also, if I'm playing a performance, we can, quantize it, time correct the performance. A lot of uses for MIDI. I just like it for the Pianoroll aspect. I can do. I love that. Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's not a beat making video. All right. So basically, what you have to do is you have the audio interface for audio, right? And you need some sort of interface for MIDI. Now, in the previous video, I made it a little confusing where I said you have to have an audio interface that has MIDI. You don't. So your options can be like a Scarlett that has a MIDI connection, or you can buy a $10 MIDI to USB interface. They're like cables. They're, again, really cheap. You can buy a more expensive MIDI interface. That's what I'm using. I have a Mio XM by iConnectivity. Just has a couple more inputs and stuff. And then the other option is going to be USB MIDI, because some synths, especially more recent ones, are going to have a USB connection. So you just buy, I think it's a printer cable, actually, for some reason. And you connect that from your synth into directly to your computer. Okay, so let's start with doing this for traditional 5-pin MIDI. Okay, this is the MIDI that was invented in 1983 or whenever, right? A lot of older synths will only have this method. Okay, so you're going to take your MIDI cable, connect it to the MIDI input of your synth, because we're sending the notes from the synth, and then connecting that into your MIDI interface's output. Input to output. Okay. And then you're going to go up to Options, go to MIDI Settings, and then under Output here, you're going to find your MIDI input. So in our case, it's going to be this, and it's going to be 1. MIDI input, port 1. Now, why is it 1? Well, I know for a fact I set my synthesizer to have port number 1. Most synths are going to have that, enabled by default. You might want to check though, because sometimes it'll be port 17 or something, and you're like pulling your hair out trying to figure out why it's not working. Okay, so this part is done. Now the last part we need to do is to get the Pianoroll thing going. So we're going to click on Add Plugin here, or you can go to Add like this at the top. Go to MIDI Out, find it in the list, and here you're going to choose the port number. We know it's number 1. And now, check it out. We got some Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. Yeah! Okay, great. Now, what if you want your synth to control FL, to be a keyboard controller? Same process, it's just a little different. So you'll take another MIDI cable, stick it in the output, MIDI output of your synth, and stick that into your MIDI interface's input, okay? So it's just reversed. So I have it connected already. I'm going to go to Options, MIDI Settings, Input, and then I'm going to, I already have it listed here. I'm going to enable it. So now, it sounds kind of weird because we're getting like a MIDI feedback loop. But you'll know it's working because look, you see that orange thing, which means, hey, we're getting MIDI detection. And now you can open up anything you want. Whatever this is. I don't even know what this plugin is. FL Studio Mobile. Wow. Anyway. Okay. So we're done. That's it. I hope this was a lot more simple than my other video. Keep in mind, if you are using USB MIDI connection, same process. It's just you go right into your computer, right? And then the same options thing for the input and the output. Actually, what's really cool is that it's just one cable. If you want it to be input and output, it's just one cable, and then you just find them here, and you're done. Okay, I feel good about this. I hope I explained this well enough. I will talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Mwah. Peace.